Welcome back, Patriots, to the Ball Brad Show. It is Tuesday, April 16th, and Joe Biden. Good old Joey, the geriatric, the puppet, the child sniffer, the guy that hits a golf ball backwards, falls up a flight of stairs, has taken more vacation time than any sitting president in American history, converses with dead people at G7 summits that have been dead for more than 3 decades, takes photos with people that were never in the state nor at the convention in the first place, doesn't know his name, doesn't know his wife's name, has to take the short stairs to get on the Marine One, doesn't know how to find the Oval Office, fights with his teleprompter, which is teleprompter. Yeah, this guy is being defeated by the teleprompter for the last 4 years now. It's the most incredible statistic we have here on the show. It's still by far not even close, the worst president in American history. Patriots, it's great to be back with you on this fine Tuesday morning. And look, I had to lead with it. This guy right here. This guy got 81 million votes, supposedly. Biden's schedule for the next 9 days as of April 13th. 1 day working at the White House, 3 days campaigning in Pennsylvania, 5 days vacationing in Delaware. Again, this dude has taken more vacation time than anybody I've ever seen in my freaking life. As the Middle East is on the brink of war. Lovely. I mean, no, literally, he had to be called back from Delaware while Israel's basically being attacked. But people love this guy, dude. He's sharp. Like, this guy's sharp, you guys. He's a mentor. We were told by Cruz Jean-Pierre she's never seen anybody sharper. He asks great questions like, who's president? No, it's awesome. The guy has it all together, folks. The world is going just fine, and so is America. Well, the big story yesterday was the White House press briefing, where Cruz Jean-Pierre and John Kirby were asked a variety of questions, but a lot of it was centered around the attack on Israel, as you would imagine. Now, one of the big questions of the White House press briefing was the communication between Iran and the United States. Now, we're receiving communication from Turkey and others about the communication between the United States and Iran. And then you have John Kirby in the White House saying there was no communication, that it's a bunch of hubbub, it's make-believe. I don't know where you guys are getting it from, is what he's saying. So Iran intended to kill large numbers of people with this unprecedented attack that we saw. It's never happened before. It was the first time that they've ever launched an attack from their home soil on Israel. So I don't take any disagreement in terms of what's being stated here. I think the attack was designed to go after Israel and kill a large amount of people. Now, Reuters reported the Biden administration, get this, I hope you're sitting down, communicated to Iran through the Turkish government that its attack on Israel had to be within certain limits. And this was, again, the big question of the day yesterday. And this is going to come from the White House press briefing. We got a reporter here that does a fabulous job of getting this question in, and here's the answer from John Kirby.
Thanks. You said a moment ago that it's ridiculous, this narrative that Iran provided some advance notice about specifics here, but where we're hearing that from, specifically is U.S. ally Turkey, U.S. partner Iraq. That's where that information is coming from. So what is the discrepancy exactly that's happening there?
I can't possibly answer that question, Trevor. All I'm telling you is it's nonsense. I mean, think about this for a minute. Can you imagine a world in which Iran would pick up the phone and say, hey, we're about to try to schwack Israel with 300 cruise missiles and drones. We just wanted to let you know it's coming. And oh, by the way, here's what we're going to hit. I'm sorry. It just didn't happen. I can't account for what sources might be telling y'all about what they heard. I'm telling you what we heard. And while we did get a message from Iran, and we passed messages to Iran as well, which I won't get into the details of, none of it was, here's the targets, here's the time frame, here's the munitions we're going to put on target.
And on that subject of communications with Iran generally, you've said without preconditions you're willing to sit down with North Korea. Does the same apply to Iran and to reopening some diplomatic discussions with them? No. And do you want to elaborate on why that is? Okay. As far as sanctions in response to Iran, Iranian oil production is now higher than it was 2 years ago. Is there a reason that you aren't taking more steps against Iranian oil exports, and does it have to do with domestic political pressures around gas prices?
I don't have any, as you know, we don't preview sanctions, and I'm not going to start doing that today, except to note what I said in my opening statement, that part of the discussion with the G7 leaders was the possibility of additional sanctions on Iran. Unilaterally and hopefully multilaterally, but we'll see where that goes.
And anything on where the oil prices or oil exports are coming from Iran and whether you want to stop that?
Again, I won't get ahead of economic pressure tools that we might be applying in the future. We're working our way through that.
The reason why that question is so important, both of those, is one, somebody has to be lying here. And I think the White House is trying to walk a fine line of not lying with what John Kirby's saying by saying, well, Iran didn't call us. Well, did we call them? Because you admitted the fact that there was communication between the two, and we're getting intelligence here from Turkey. And I don't know why Turkey would lie about this, of the fact of you're saying, well, there's certain regions or certain areas or certain kind of a certain limits here of where you could sit there and target or where you should be putting your weaponry at so that we could shoot it down or something. I mean, it's not uncommon for people to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you're right. We killed one of those guys. You have a right to retaliate. Why don't you do this? And at least it shows a show of force for your people. It doesn't piss your people off. And look, we'll shoot it down. Nobody gets hurt at the end of the day, and everybody walks away happy. Well, I don't know who to believe. I want to say the Turkish government has nothing to gain or lose here in terms of them saying, yeah, there was communications. There clearly was, because John Kirby said as much. And by the way, why are there not sanctions going on Iran? Why are we still giving them $10 billion of humanitarian aid, which Peter Doocy, we'll get to in one moment, asked that great question right there. And furthermore, why did we ease sanctions in terms of their oil? Like, what's going on here? Why are we being so lax on Iran? And I think one of the issues is because we're having such an economic issue right now with energy prices going through the roof that the Biden administration can't do it. They're getting effed right now from every which way direction. Why? Because Joe Biden thought it would be a great idea to campaign on getting rid of the fossil fuel industry. That's why. And so now he needs it from Iran, who's saying death to America and death to Israel. As a matter of fact, just committed a massive attack on Israel. And rather than just increasing drilling and oil production here in the United States, he can't do it because he already promised during his campaign trail to get rid of the fossil fuel industry. Just lovely. Well, here's finally somebody stepping up to the plate in the room. Peter Doocy, the Gladiator, Fox News, questioning John Kirby on why he's still giving them humanitarian aid. And just listen to his response to a lot of the stuff that took place.
Thanks. John, has President Biden considered maybe beefing up the public Iran posture to be more than just one word?
You're referring to don't.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about...
And they did it anyway.
And let's talk
So
about
now
what we did, Peter. Let's talk about don't and did. Let's talk about Saturday night. He made it clear that he didn't want to see escalation in the region.
And there was.
Let me finish. He added military resources to the region right after October 7th. And then when we had an inkling that this kind of thing was coming, he added even more military resources to the region. More destroyers that were capable of shooting down ballistic missiles, a fighter squadron that was able to shoot down drones. And that's what we did. So you can talk about the don't word all you want, but let's talk about what did happen. And what did happen was Iran utterly failed. And if I'm sitting in Tehran right now, I'm betting that President Biden takes it pretty seriously when he says don't escalate. He's going to act to make sure that you can't. And they didn't. Yes, they fired an unprecedented amount of munitions, but how much of a success did they have, Peter? None. Zero. Very little infrastructure. It was an embarrassing failure for the Supreme Leader and for the IRGC.
Now that we know that the Iranians do not listen to President Biden's public warnings, is there any regret here about unfreezing billions of dollars for Iranian leaders during the president's administration?
What unfreezing are you talking about?
He unfroze billions of dollars.
For Iranian leaders?
Yeah.
Really? I don't think so.
Okay,
So
you
first
guys
of all,
say it's for humanitarian purposes, but doesn't that...
but you don't believe me.
Well, doesn't that free up money for them to spend on other stuff? Where do you get the money for an unprecedented number of munitions to fire at Israel?
So first of all,
Actually, I would love to answer this question, Peter. Well, they got $1 billion a few years ago from Barack Obama, part of the Democrat Party. That's where they got some of their money. And they're also getting $10 billion from the Democrat Party, specifically Joe Biden, of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. That would probably do it, on top of the fact that we left, I don't know, billions of dollars of military-grade equipment in Afghanistan that we know, some of which went to Iran, also went to Hamas there that attacked, Israel. And that comes from the Israel intelligence community. So that's some of the money there, Peter. But great question nonetheless. Let's see this knucklehead try to answer this one.
I'm betting if they're sitting in Tehran, they're taking it seriously when President Biden says he's going to defend Israel. We put skin in the game, a whole heck of a lot of it, and knocked almost everything out of the sky. So I'm betting they're taking it pretty seriously. And as for this unfreezing, none of that fund, none of those funds set up in an account, by the way, by the previous administration, goes directly to the Supreme Leader, the IRGC, can only be used for humanitarian purposes, and we're watching that account very, very closely to make sure that that's what happens.
And you guys often defend all the trips to Delaware by saying the president is not on vacation, he's working, he can be the president from anywhere. So why do you have to come back on Saturday?
Well, we got indications shortly after arriving. We got better, firmer intelligence and information about the specific timing of what we expected to be this Iranian attack, and the president didn't bat an eye before getting back on that helicopter and coming back. And he was here all Saturday night in the Situation Room from mid-afternoon till late at night, getting real-time updates from General Kurilla and from his defense team all throughout the night, including calling Prime Minister Netanyahu right from the Situation Room. And as Kareem mentioned, on Sunday, he was right back at it again, working the G7, calling King Abdullah. I don't know what else to tell you. He had a very busy, full weekend.
Very busy, full weekend. Guys, I gotta ask. I gotta ask you. Does this guy look busy? Does Joey look busy there? His aviators on his little belly? Don't think so. No, don't think so. Folks, this guy only works for like 4 hours out of the day. That came from his own White House aides. The dude sits there and sleeps in, and they got to try to get him out of bed around 10 a.m. to hopefully get him out there and show from around between 12 and 4, and then he's done. But they're going to sit there, and I can't wrap my head around it. Let me know. Can any of you in the live chat comment section, please, I'm asking you, can you leave me a comment and let me know, can you wrap your head around us giving the Iranians $10 billion and also relieving sanctions on them? Can anybody wrap their head around it? Because I sure in hell can't. But he's going to sit there, oh, well, Joe Biden, sharp, he's working hard, he's busier than ever, he has it all sorted out, everybody takes him seriously. I'm sure they're really thinking about, what they did. Really? Because they're still funding terrorism, they're still going after our merchant vessels, they're still committing heinous crimes all across the world and the globe, and you're just giving them $10 billion, it's going to show up more money for terrorism. No, they're all listening to you. You're right. Unbelievable. Well, some people actually want to take things seriously as the House, which is led by Republicans. So slate sanctions on Iran after attack on Israel because Joe Biden just wants to fund them. Joe Biden wants to give them all a bunch of stuff here. So Republicans in the House have prepared a dozen bills to slap new sanctions on Iran following its unprecedented attack on Israel. Why is it not coming from Democrats? Why is Joe Biden not stepping up to the plate here? Interesting. Why is it all just so interesting that we're just giving money to everybody? You notice that? It's like we're funding both sides of the war. Does anybody else get the same sense of that as well? That we're giving money to everybody, and then they're taking that money and just fighting with each other with it? That's the vibe that I'm getting here. House Republicans want penalties leveraged against Iran for its attack. Oh, but why? What did they do wrong? Oh, God, no. Why not give them more money? Why not give them more munitions to fight? Why? House Republicans make sense here. So the number of Iranian proxy groups fired over 300 drones, ballistic missiles, which we covered before. The White House is pressuring the Israeli government to forego a military response to the attack, which I think is a good call, urging the Israeli war cabinet to avoid any action that could escalate attacks between Israel and Iran. The White House's position has earned its criticism largely from Republicans who say that Israel should be free to respond as it sees fit and that Iran cannot go unpunished. Now, I don't want Iran to retaliate. I do think it was a W. I understand Iran doesn't want to sit there and look weak, but it's not something we need right now. We have money going freaking everywhere. We're $34+ trillion in debt. We have our own issues here domestically that we need to handle. We have our own national security issues, let alone freaking foreign national security issues, because you have people now coming through our southern border, having terrorism now taking place possibly in the next 10 years. So we got enough ish to worry about. We can't afford to sit there and be on multiple fronts at different times, especially when you got China wanting to go into Taiwan. You got Russia now going into Ukraine. They're going to advance further into Ukraine because Ukraine's not getting the funding. You have Iran now wanting to go after Israel even more than ever now that they supposedly and allegedly look embarrassed. You got Hamas there right on the border of Israel wanting to do damage. Supposedly the Houthis and Hezbollah, rather, were launching rockets in Israel once again, just like 24 hours ago. I mean, there's so much crap going on. We can't afford Israel to sit there and retaliate against Iran. Now, House Republicans have announced a dozen of bills that would strengthen sanctions on Iranian regime and cut off Iran from some international economic connections, which I absolutely love. I think it's a good call. Some of the legislation would take action against Iran's terrorist proxy groups in the region. A couple of the bills would also punish the European Union to designate the IRGC as a terror group, which I don't know why they haven't already. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. We all know what that means, that anti-Semitic chant. While the White House teeters and displays weakness against our adversaries on the world stage, House Republicans are unwavering in their support for Israel. Love to see that from Steve Scalise. And last year, we passed a supplemental bill to aid Israel and support our ally, but the Senate refused to take it to the floor for a vote. Oh, God, I wonder why. Oh, Oh, it's the Democrats. That's right. No, that makes sense. This week, we're bringing several measures to demonstrate our support of Israel and take action against Iran. These bills represent a comprehensive response to the Iranian threat by supporting Israel's response to the attack and sanctioning Iran's leaders, cutting off their revenue sources, and targeting their partners and terrorist proxy groups. I love to see it from Republicans, but my question is that why are we not getting Democrats doing any of this stuff? Like, what are Democrats doing? You notice it's like one party that's allowing terrorism to flourish around the world. It's one party that's giving the leading supporter of terrorism money all the time. You know, it's one party that's consistently allowing the leader of terrorism to flourish in terms of uranium development. Do you notice that, or at least a nuclear warhead development? You notice it's one party that's allowing illegal immigration to flourish here in this country and allowing terrorism to flow across the border, specifically terrorists. You know, it's like one party that just loves crime in all their cities. Do you notice it's one party that can give two bleeps about your national security? Do you notice it's like one party that always wants to spend all our money? Not saying it's not Republicans. Republicans are doing it too, but it didn't used to be that way. Do you notice it's like always one party just coming back into the loop on all these things? It's really weird, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's really weird how it seems like one party's constantly going against the United States in some way, shape, or form. It's really weird, I know. It's like one party that always wants to increase your taxes. It's like always one party that just sits there and just consistently wants to just ream you from behind. It's really weird, I know. It's like one party that constantly wants to just keep funding and helping Iran. It's really weird, I know. It's one party that continually wants to give money to Ukraine that's already sat there and has flourished in corruption, taken $40 million of unaccounted money. No, it's always like one party that always wants to just give more money to the homeless, except it just exacerbated the issue. It's always one party that wants to treat you as a second-class citizen. It's really weird. It's really, really weird. No, I try to wrap my head around it too, just like all of you. No, I'm right there with you. God, it's really weird. It's one party that just wants to never allow voter IDs so people can fraudulently vote for Joe Biden. God, it's really weird. It's like one party always, you know. Oh. Am I the only one that sees it? Let me know in the live chat and comment section. Would love to hear from you. You know I read all your comments, folks. You know I sit there and swipe. Well, in other news here, people that want to speak on behalf of the American people, Cruz blasts Biden. Iran's missiles and drones were paid for by the Biden administration. God, this sounds a lot like something I said earlier where I feel like we're funding both sides of the war here. Well, Senator Ted Cruz slammed Joe Biden, not literally, but metaphorically. We can only wish he would do so literally, but, you know, Joe Biden would sit there and turn to dust. This week, for Iran's unprecedented attack on Israel over the weekend, say that the Biden administration paid for the missiles and drones that Iran used. Oh, how did that happen, Ted? How did that happen? What do you mean? I was just told by John Kirby that no, none of this money that we give them goes to the IRGC. No, I was told it didn't. I'm supposed to believe the Biden administration and everything they say. Cruz made the remarks during a broadcast on his Verdict podcast with co-host Ben Ferguson in response to the attack. Quote, "It was the first direct attack on Israel from Iran in history, and it is an extraordinary escalation of what has been going on. This tragically is the result of Biden's foreign policy of appeasement and the entire Democrat Party backing away from Israel and sending billions of dollars to Iran. In a very real sense, the missiles that Iran fired at Israel were paid for by the Biden administration, possibly the Obama administration, Mr. Cruz. Remember that $1 billion of cash that was flown over there?" Cruz said that the administration allowed the sanctions on missiles in Iran to expire. Oh, interesting. God, it sounds like one party again. God, Democrat Party reaming us from behind, sending money to Iran and allowing terrorism to flourish in the region. God, gives military-grade equipment to Afghanistan that then gets divided out to terrorist proxy groups in the region to go against our allies like Israel and others. Oh, interesting. They did this in the midst of Iran funding Hamas, funding Hezbollah, funding October 7th, and launching over 100 attacks on U.S. servicemen and women. But Cruz, I was just told that Iran's really thinking about what they did because they're embarrassed. I was told Iran takes Joe Biden's words seriously, even though they haven't over hundreds of times. On October 7th, more than 1,200 Israelis were murdered. That included roughly 30 Americans who were murdered as well. We still have American hostages. We still have Israeli hostages. Not only that, but we have 3 servicemen and women the Iranians have murdered, and there are more than 100 attacks. And what does the Biden administration keep doing? Shoveling out cash. Just throwing it out there to this theoretic lunatic Ayatollah. I'm right there with you, Ted. I'm right there with you. They're going to keep giving him money. You saw it. They're going to keep relieving sanctions. Who doesn't want to do that? Who does not want to ease sanction? It's the Republicans. God, I know I'm coming back to it. Really weird how the Democrat Party continually wants to fund this stuff. It's weird the Democrat Party continually wants drugs to flourish. I keep saying flourish. Flow across the southern border. Really weird the Democrat Party wants to allow all this stuff to happen. Really weird, isn't it? But it's the conservative Republicans that want more money in your pocket. They want to bring taxes down for you so you can sit there and actually pay your damn bills. They want to allow fossil fuel industry to just bump drill baby drill so you don't have to pay $7 at the gas pump. I'm telling you, this party, man, the Democrat Party is just driving us right into the ground. Again, I want to just have the receipts here. Kirby defends Biden easing sanctions on Iran, leading to billions in oil revenue. Don't take it from me. I mean, hell, it's them, you guys. I'm just reporting on the news. I mean, yeah, I'm adding a little bit of a twist here. And obviously, I'm a biased person because I'm a Trump supporter, MAGA baby. But it's the Democrats doing all this. They're doing it. They're doing it. Prove me otherwise. Hey, send me links, you Dems, you libs. Throw me some links in there. Come on, you always come at us in the comment section every now and then. You call us racist, bigot, sexist, homophobes. Leave us some comments down below. Prove us wrong that you're not sitting there funding terrorism. Prove us wrong that you're not allowing illegal immigrants to pour across the border. Prove us wrong that you're not allowing terrorism to pour across the border, or terrorists rather. Tell us you're not allowing crime to flourish in your cities. Tell us all these things. No. Go ahead. We'll wait. We'll read your comments in the comment section. Yeah, it ain't coming, folks, because they know what they're doing. They're driving this country right into the ground. Well, in other news here, at least Iran humiliated Hezbollah and Houthis, completely stunned by Israel attack failure. I don't know how much this is true. I don't know how much they're sitting there trying to massage the shoulders of the Biden administration. But we have here, we're not going to go through this whole thing. Fox News senior strategist analyst joined America's Newsroom Monday to discuss Iran's failed missile and drone attack on Israel over the weekend and the huge opportunity for Israel and the United States to leverage the humiliation, rather. So I don't know how much this, again, is sitting there rubbing the shoulders and feet of the Biden administration. But I don't know how embarrassed they were. On one end, don't get me wrong, I would love for them to be embarrassed. I would love for them to sit there and feel humiliated because I'm obviously no fan of the Iranian government and their regime over there because they chant death to America, death to Israel. But I don't know if there's a lot of credibility behind this. And by the way, it wasn't just the United States military involved in this, and I think it keeps getting brought up that we were the only ones involved. But if you look here, it was France, Jordan, United Kingdom. We had other people partaking in this. And what you want to see from your allies, a unified effort. And I hope at least they do feel humiliated, but I'm just not sure. And by the way, if they do feel humiliated, I wonder if they're going to come back even harder than ever. Well, in some other news than Iran, thank the Lord, because I'm kind of tired of talking about Iran and Israel. And something that I think is important is Harvard reinstates standardized testing admissions required. The reason why I think this is important is because it's really hard to lie on a test. You either know it or you don't. A lot of the excuses we used as kids, including myself at one point, was, well, the teacher's not teaching me. I don't get the content. What's the other one? I'm not a good test taker is kind of the big one. No. It's not that you're not a good test taker. The teacher teaches. It's just that you don't know it and you didn't study. I used to use that excuse too, folks. And that's really what it came down to. I just didn't study. I didn't put in the effort. It wasn't the fact that I wasn't a bad test taker. I just didn't know it. So I love this because virtually the ACT and the SAT are IQ tests, and you would need a high IQ, most likely to get into Harvard to succeed. And so it would make sense to put in some shape or form an IQ test to sit there and flesh out those who would be able to make it in Harvard and those who wouldn't. And ever since they stopped doing the SAT and the ACT, you're seeing people getting let into these institutions that have no business in the institution to begin with, and they're not able to compete with their peers. And their peers were able to get in that institution because they had the IQ, because they had the exam scores and the test scores. And so what you're seeing is a massive dropout. And we're seeing dropout rates upwards of like 40%, folks, in the university system. It's pretty remarkable. So again, they announced on April 11th that beginning in fall of 2025, the admission cycle applicants will be required to submit their ACT and SAT. And what you would imagine is a lot of universities are going to follow suit with this. Standardized tests are a means for all students, regardless of their background and life experience, to provide information that is predictive of success in college and beyond. Now, what they're talking about here is there's a good correlation, not cause and effect, but correlation between somebody's exam scores and the outcome of which they will have when they go to that university. They got about decades and decades of research on this. And I tend to actually agree is there's a high correlation between, I don't want to say student success necessarily, but the outcome of a student as well as correlating to their test scores. So I think this is a good move by Harvard. Now, what's interesting here is people are going to talk about the disparities and basically having equal access to test preparation. So critics correctly note that standardized tests are not an unbiased measure of students' qualifications, as students from higher income families often have greater access to test prep and other resources. But this is such an old talking point because of the not just the entry to the technology side of understanding things and being able to learn of it, but also the technology side of everything's cheaper. I mean, everybody has a cell phone. You guys, homeless people have phones. You know how many videos are on YouTube of people doing test prep for you on the SAT? No longer do you need a tutor. You have thousands of videos online that will teach you how to do all these things, and you can get it from your phone. Or if you can't afford a phone, go to a local library. This whole talking point here of like, well, they have greater access to test prep and other resources. I wasn't wealthy growing up. I actually didn't score that well in the SAT, and I didn't have much test prep. But I'm sitting here as somebody that have access to this, as somebody from else's high income family. I'm not complaining about it, going, I could have went to the library. I could have reached out to a friend. I could have reached out to maybe somebody that was willing to do it for free. I could have sat there and worked so that I could have sat there and had a better test prep for myself. Like this rolling over like a turtle going, oh, well, I didn't have the money for it. I didn't have all these things. Why don't you stop sitting there complaining? And the time that you sat there and complained, you could have sat there and found other results or solutions to this problem here for yourself so that you could compete against high income families. Now, could high income families pay for test prep and other resources like tutoring? Absolutely. But I'm so tired of this mentality of, oh, well, the high earners, look at these wealthy people out competing me. Fuck them. I don't mean to cuss, but stop sitting there and complaining all the time and work your ass off so you can sit there and compete against these high income families. Yeah, they have it easier. Welcome to life. It's always going to be that way. There's always going to be people that have it easier than you. And that's the way it is. And rather than complaining about it, sit there and pull your bootstraps up, figure the issue out, and outcompete those guys. I'm so tired of this non-compete generation of like, oh, well, I can't afford a tutor. I look at that guy over there has it easier than me. I'm just going to give up. Figure it out, man. I want you to succeed. Figure it out. Life ain't easy. It's not easy for me. I'm not going to sit there and roll over and cry about it. I'm going to give myself a fighting chance here. God, I'm so tired of this. Trying to just hand out everything. Get on the freaking internet. Khan Academy is free. They have SAT prep on there. And you're going to tell me that you don't have equal access to test prep? You're telling me right now that you can't go down to a local library and get a free book to check out that's going to be test prep. You're telling me you're not going to find a library out there. You're not going to find a PDF document out there that's going to help you do test prep. You're going to tell me you don't have free access to ChatGPT 1.5, rather 3.5 to help you with this stuff. The rollover from this generation of just completely giving up because somebody else has it easier on them is head spinning, and I'm tired of it. I hate excuses. Unbelievable. I need to drink my coffee, folks. I mean, am I wrong? I understand it's not a nice way of putting it. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying it's hard. Yes, it's hard. Welcome to life. A lot of people have it easier than me. I work freaking like 3 jobs. You don't see me complaining like, oh, I'm tired, oh, boo-hoo, oh, God, look at that, screw that guy because he has easier. No. I'm trying to compete with them in life. Everybody's going to have it easier than you in some way, shape, or form, and you're going to have it harder than other people in some way, shape, or form, and you're going to have it easier than other people. It's all perspective. Like, I'm talking to everybody here that's Patriots, part of the Ball Bride Army. Regardless of your income level, you're living in the United States, you're like the top 1% in human existence in terms of wealth. We're so rich, it's head spinning, even though we're considered maybe even poor here in the United States. You're still rich. Folks are homeless, have plasma TVs and gaming chairs on the streets. It ain't that bad. It's bad in our standards because we're a wealthy country and you don't want to see people on the streets, but for the love of God. Dartmouth University did not require the SAT or ACT for classes 2025, 2026, 2027, but brought back the requirement for the class of 2028. So we'll see what happens here in years to come. I think it's a fix. I think they realized it wasn't a good call. People are getting into university systems that were never qualified in the first place. And maybe it'll wake people up to start scoring better in the classroom and maybe take a little bit more of high school seriously because they're not getting into the universities and not able to compete. Well, I just want to end off with this one again. Joe Biden. We need a laugh. Good old Joey here on the beaches of Delaware. Once again, folks, getting the rays in the sun. I'm sure glad he could vacation for 5 days. I sure in hell can't. I'm not complaining. Folks, I want the guy to work. I want to be safe here in this nation. This guy is thinking that he should be vacationing when you have mass amount of crime taking place around the country. You got Iran attacking Israel. You got Hamas attacking Israel. You got 70+% of the Palestinians on the other side of the border there wanting to go after Israel because of what's taking place in their area. You have China wanting to take over Taiwan. You got Russia invading Ukraine. You got a massive surge of invasion taking place at the southern border. You have a massive amount of problems with our debt. I mean, why are you thinking right now is a good time to go on vacation? I can understand like playing a game of golf because surprisingly you can get a lot of shit done golfing in terms of conversation if anybody's ever been golfing. And I'm bringing that up because Trump went golfing all the time. Like that actually makes sense. Like, hey, let's go hit a few balls there. Let's play 18 real quick and let's hash some shit out and have a conversation. Is he talking there? Anybody let me know. Is Joey talking there or is he sleeping? I think we all know what's going on. He's virtually sleeping all the time, which is why we don't get any questions answered in the White House press briefing, which is why John Kirby looks like this. That's why John Kirby looks like that. You guys stunned, shocked, doesn't know what the hell's going on because he doesn't. He literally doesn't know what's going on. Why? Because Joe Biden doesn't know what's going on. They can't get in the room with the guy. They can't get their questions answered in the same way the press can't get their questions answered in the same way we don't get our questions answered because these knuckleheads here running the show don't know what the hell's going on. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, folks. We got a lot of goodies. I stopped plugging my stuff, but I'd hope that if you're interested in your reader, my book, Trojan Horse, it is a real book, folks. We have a lot of words. Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Become equipped, folks, because it's coming back again. You're seeing a lot of racial unrest taking place with the Democrat Party because they need the black vote. You have here the Bald Brad Show mug, and we got a lot of shirts, hoodies, all that fun stuff. Link is in the description. Head over to baldbrad.com. We have a website, folks. Go check that stuff out. We're not making any profit on the merchandise, just to let you know. I think by making profit, we're talking like 2 cents. And I mean that in all literal sense, no pun intended. The hope is that you guys, are just able to get yourself something. You know what I mean? Not me breaking the bank for y'all and reaping the benefit of profit. It's just so that you guys are able to get shirts and stuff like that because maybe you want to support the show and have, a cup of coffee with me every morning. So for the regular listeners, have a cup of coffee with me. Get yourself a mug. I think they're like $4.99, $5.99, something like that. Hopefully I'm not lowballing that number. But with that being said, folks, head over to baldbrad.com. Check out our other videos. Head over to Spooky Adventures. We do have another channel. Would love your support on that end. And I'll see you next time here on The Bald Brad Show.